In business, and I think in most forms of life, we're always comparing. We're always comparing what we did back then to as opposed to what we did now. Did we do better? Did we do worse? That type of thing. This is probably one of the most popular types of calculations in business because, in fact, we are always in business comparing. All right. In this case, we have a number of different reps selling different uphill bicycle tours to good old Haleakala, all right? Big volcano. So last year, they did these numbers here. This year, which are what these blue numbers are adding up to, that's what they did this year. So what we want to do is we want to compare the 2 years for each of these reps and figure out what percentage did they go up or did they go down, all right? Now, one of the situations you're going to run into with something like this is that we have a situation with negative numbers in the year before. And the problem with that is that this calculation involves division, and more specifically, column H ends up being the divisor. And because we're going to be using negative numbers in the divisor, it's going to throw our percentage change off the calculation. So we're going to have to put in, or I should say nest in, a function that's going to allow us to kind of fix that. And you'll see that as we go along here. So here's how we're going to go about doing this. We're going to go over here to what, I3, hit equal, put our left parenthesis in. Now the way this works, the way this calculation works, is we take the newest number minus the previous number divided by the previous number, okay? So we're going to say equal left parenthesis. We're going to take this number here minus that number there, close off the parenthesis, and then divide it by the old number. Now, in order to get it so where we don't get the division, or dividing it by a negative, right? We're going to put the function, and I'll type this in right now, AB, and you'll see ABS pop up here, all right? And within the ABS function, we're going to put one single thing in there, and that is this cell address, what we're dividing it by. So I can actually click on it like right here, and then I'll close it off. So it's going to make it seem, as we copy this down, anytime it encounters a negative divisor, a negative number in this column, the ABS will turn the negative into a positive, technically. So now when we go ahead and hit the enter key, there we go, 10.3%. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll copy this all the way down, and there we go. I wiped out my formatting down there, so I'll just click on my little tag there and hit the fill without formatting. That'll come back. So as you can see here, it's showing, and I don't know if this is the best way of showing things. I mean, what it comes down to is that if we hadn't put that in there, we would have gotten a negative 280%, and that definitely doesn't make any sense. So at least this way, it gives us a sense that not only did they get, up to that point, I mean, they were kind of like in the negative to begin with. So it's a fair way of looking at the number, because here's what will happen. Let me go back here. I'll show you real quick here. If I were to get rid of the ABS, I was just going to do that right there, okay? If I did that, I know that M, okay? Go ahead and copy that down, okay? I'm going to get that. So it's going to be like negative 355 versus positive 355, right? So it's It just makes a little bit more sense looking at it to see it that way, that's all. But it's still just as accurate. Now, chances of you having negative numbers to begin with might not be that great. I would assume that pretty much any year we would be up there. But, you know, who knows? I mean, it's, you know, I made the example up just in case that were to happen. But the point is that if you weren't going to have any situation with negative numbers for the divisor, you could just put together the formula like this and it would work just fine. Okay? Now, let's look at this next one here. I'm going to go over the next tab here. Now, in this situation, same data and everything, almost, except we have a 0. And if any of you know anything about math, you know that there's a major rule out there that says you can't divide by 0. So if you can imagine saying, I want to take this number minus this number, which wouldn't be bad there, but then divided by that number, you're going to get a division by 0 error, period. Okay? Therefore, you're not going to see anything. So we need a way to I guess, fairly show what this should be. All right? I mean, this obviously, what it's showing here is that Lurch, maybe that previous year, maybe wasn't even part of the team. He was not hired, so he was, you know, somewhere else. So you really can't say that he's increased by anything because there's no basis for that, see? So anyway, so here would be the formula I'm about to show you. This would be the ultimate formula that you'd put in that would, number one, guard you against negative numbers being in the divisor, as well as zeros being in the divisor. Okay? So here's what we're going to type in. It's very similar to what we've already done, but there's a little bit more modification to it. Okay? And once I put it in there, I'll explain what it's doing, and then, you know, you can then maybe start using this in some of your calculations, because I'm sure a number of you that have done this type of calculating on your own, you know, worksheets have probably run into this stuff, right? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to type in equal, left parenthesis, and we're going to take our newest number, right, minus our older number, right, close off the parenthesis, and then we're going to say divided by, and for the negative type situations, you know, that we might encounter, we'll type in AB for our absolute, all right? Now, here's where it gets a little bit different. In order to account not only for there being a positive number or a negative number in there, but also to account for a 0 being in there, we have a little tricky portion of the formula, or portion of the formula, I guess, here, that in essence kind of is almost like an if function, where it looks at the situation and says, oh, if there's a 0 in there, then do this type of thing, right? Okay, so here's what we do. You got your ABS left parenthesis, right? You go and you click on the G3 here, all right? Times, and then in parentheses, you go with H3 equaling 0. So that's kind of like the part where it says if there's a 0 in that divisor area, right? Now, and then we put in a right parenthesis there, and then your plus, and then H3 again, all right? And that's for, I guess, the situations where it isn't a 0, all right? And then you close that off, just like that. Now you enter that in, and we get, you know, 10% for the first one. And I'll just copy it all the way down. All right, and I'll get rid of my formatting. Okay, so what happened here? 280 just like we saw before, 355 like we saw before. But look at this one. It shows that Lurch is up 100%. Now, is that fair to say that? I mean, is is it really true that if Lurch did nothing the year before and now he's at 310? I mean, if you were to plug in the number 1 there, you'd get an astronomical amount. You get, thousands of percent, right? Because he went from $1 to $310,000, right? But the 0 makes it kind of tricky. So it basically just says, I'm going to count the fact that Lurch is up 100%, period, right? Now, if people are getting bonuses based on how high their percentage of increase is, that would be very unfair, for him to do that. But nonetheless, that's the way it is. But that's just another way of dealing with this. Now, there's another way that you'll see in latter videos, but this is one way of approaching it, all right? Whether you agree with it or not, that's up to you. You might even say, you know what, I think in those situations, I'll just override it and I'll just type in a 0 there and saying that he's up nothing because there's nothing for him to compare to, right? Okay. So hopefully this helps you. Hopefully, if you've run into problems in the past doing, calculations or similar calculations like this, now you know how to tweak them to make them come out better. So thank you for watching my video.